Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Khairul Syahmi bin Mahadi and I will start with introduction. Al-Qa'idah comes from the path of Qaf Ain Dal, which means that you have long been sitting and sitting firmly. This is in contrast to others Arabic jalasa, which means to sit. Qawaid is the plural form of the singular word qa'idah. It also means the foundation or root of something, whether physical or non-physical, and the terms can be used. For example, this word is used as the foundation of a house. For example, in the Quran, Allah used this word as the foundation of the hippos of Ibrahim and Ismail. Therefore, you can use the word qawaid for both the underlying physical and non-physical concepts. In Surah Al-Baqarah 273, and when Ibrahim laid the foundation for the house, Ismail said, Lord, accept this from us. Verily thou hearest knowledge. Qawaid and Kanun are related to each other. Kanun is for artificial or secular law, and Sharia is used for the law of Allah. Al-Qa'idah, al-Fiqhiyyah means qawaid in the context of fiqh. This word is a compound word. Fiqh originally means understanding, the meaning of vocabulary, which is not what we mean here. Many benefits can be obtained from this knowledge for a person, especially to understand the appreciation of fiqh in order to be able to connect and enact laws, as well as know the law for unwritten matters and legal issues that always exist. Further describe the importance of its application in the legal system as a provision of law based on qawaid fiqhiyah has been done in Malaysia. In addition, discuss the application of qawaid fiqhiyah in the law of muamalat in Malaysian society. Next, let us understand the fact of fiqh, the source of the recruitment, and the wisdom behind the images of the method of fiqh. Furthermore, know the laws of fiqh that have arisen throughout the age and without the text of the Quran and Sunnah. Then, thanks to the knowledge of qawaid fiqhiyah, there is no need to memorize the problem of juz'iyah that exists. This is because the problem of juz'iyah has been included in the method of kulliyah, and fractions and branches of the problem of fiqh can be mastered and known through the method of fiqhiyah. Al-Masyaqqah Tajlib, al-Taysir can be interpreted as this difficulty should be simple. Etymologically, al-Masyaqqah is a type up. There is fatigue, hard work, difficulty, or difficulty. Surah An-Nahl, verse 7, al-Taysir means convenience, etymologically. Then, according to the author, this method also applies to the institution prescribed by Islam for the Ummah Mukarraf in Islamic law. Established or rukhsah is prescribed by law when determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the context of dhurf for the servants of Mukarraf in certain circumstances. There are several similar rules in the rules of Masyaqqah Tajlib al-Taysir. With these rules, it is possible to develop in a way that can provide guidance for Muslim Mukallaf to always be comfortable when walking Islam in daily life.
Okay, so next about sources and categories of Al-Masyaqqah Tajlib al-Taysir. Islamic law doesn't compel humans to do anything they cannot afford to do and that may place them in difficulties, or to do something that doesn't accord with and is compatible with their instinct and habits. So maksud dari dekat sini, undang-undang Islam ni dia tidak akan paksa manusia untuk melakukan apa-apa yang mereka tak mampu, atau sesuatu yang boleh menyusahkan mereka, atau melakukan sesuatu yang tak sesuai dengan mereka. Next, sources of Al-Masyaqqah Tajlib al-Taysir. because the position of this rule is nearly equal to the position of qat'i in terms of removing obstacle for Muslim. There are several evidence both from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Yang pertama sekali daripada Al-Quran, daripada surah Al-Baqarah ayat 185, yang kedua surah Al-Hajj ayat 78, dan yang ketiga surah An-Nisa ayat 28. Seterusnya daripada As-Sunnah, sabda Rasulullah SAW, maksudnya aku diutus sebagai seorang mukmin yang benar dan bertolak ansur. Yang kedua, maksudnya kamu semua diutuskan sebagai orang yang mudah atau bertoleransi tetapi tidak dengan kekerasan. Okey, so semua ayat-ayat ini menunjukkan bahawa Allah tidak berniat untuk membebankan manusia dengan setiap perintah yang dia telah berikan. Allah dia tak mengkehendaki kesusahan bagi orang Islam. Sebaliknya, orang Islam dinasihatkan untuk melaksanakan tanggungjawab mereka mengikut kemampuan atau kebolehan masing-masing untuk melaksanakan apa sahaja. Next, daripada ayat-ayat ini juga menunjukkan bahawa undang-undang Islam adalah mudah. Categories of al-Masyaqqah Tajlib al-Taysir. Scholars have classified the Masyaqqah requirement into 3 levels. First of all, al-Masyaqqah al-Azimah. Scholars define a very serious difficulty as a masyaqqah in a circumstance that urge or threatens the interest of a daruriyat comes, which emergency involving religion, life, intellect, language and property. So, al-Masyaqqah al-Azimah, ulama mendefinisikan al-Masyaqqah al-Azimah ni sebagai masyaqqah dalam keadaan yang mendesak atau mengancam kepentingan daruriyat khams, iaitu darurat yang melibatkan agama, nyawa, akal, keturunan dan harta. Masyaqqah ni untuk menyelamatkan jiwa dan menyelamatkan diri, dan ia mesti diberikan rukhsah. Ini disebabkan akibat daripada ibadah dan ketaatan kepada Allah. Contohnya berpuasa sepanjang hari di bulan Ramadan. Apabila seseorang tu dalam keadaan sakit yang teruk dan dia tak dapat berpuasa sebab dia risaukan keselamatan dirinya, Islam ni kan agama yang mudah, so dia akan menggunakan rukhsah, iaitu rukhsah berbuka untuk menyelamatkan nyawa atau diri orang tersebut. Second, al-Masyaqqah al-Mutawassitah. This masyaqqah signifies middle level of difficulty. Masyaqqah ni dia memerlukan banyak penyiasatan dan kajian untuk mengklasifikasikan masyaqqah ni. Sebab kalau masyaqqah tu dia dekat dengan masyaqqah azimah, maka ia akan dapat rukhsah. Tapi kalau dia dekat dengan masyaqqah khafifah, dia tak akan dapat rukhsah syarak. Lastly, al-Masyaqqah al-Khafifah or al-Masyaqqah al-Adiyah. Al-Masyaqqah al-Khafifah means moderate difficulty, but al-Masyaqqah al-Adiyah means normal difficulty. Masyaqqah ni dia tak dianggap sesuatu yang memerlukan rukhsah pada masa ni, sebab ia tak ada kaitan dengan remedi undang-undang. Contohnya kalau kita rasa sakit sikit dekat jari tangan atau kaki atau dekat tempat lain lah, rasa sakit yang kita rasa ni dia tidak ada kaitan dengan kedudukan hukum, sebab nilai ibadah ni kita harus utamakan berbanding kesakitan kecil yang kita rasa ni.
I will continue about the reason of rukhsah. As a Muslim, there are several reasons that allow us to take rukhsah. However, the form of release for each condition may be different. There are waivers that cause the case to fall, or simply reduce, need to be replaced, advanced, to defer, alter, and so on. Rukhsah must be done considering the existing condition and according to the guideline of the Sharia. The first reason of rukhsah is journey. Traveling a certain distance make a Muslim get a rukhsah in performing worship. The distance travel should be more than 2 marhalah, which is 90 kilometers. For example, for fasting and prayer. When a Muslim is on a journey, they can get a rukhsah by not fasting. Apart from that, people who are traveling are also allowed to jama their prayer, which is to combine 2 prayer or qasar, which is shorten the number of raka'ats in prayer performed when traveling. The person is allowed to replace the Friday prayer with a Zuhur prayer and perform tayammum while in the vehicle. The second reason of rukhsah is defect and limitation. People who are in a state of illness also get a rukhsah in worship, as it is permissible for them not to fast, to do tayammum, and to make a forbidden food as a medicine if it is necessary. The third reason of rukhsah is compulsion. A person who is forced to do something illegal is allowed to do so. Under duress, a Muslim can destroy the properties of others, eat carcasses, drink alcohol, and even speak words that lead to disbelief as long as he shall remain a believer. However, the coercive condition in question must be absolutely enforced, not made or considered force, even it is simple. The fourth reason of rusa is forgetfulness. God forgive the person who does wrong when he forgets. Someone who forgets doesn't count. For example, it does not count as invalidating the fast of a person who eats forgetfully. There is ingested unintentionally. The fifth reason of the rusa is because of ignorance. A person who commits a mistake or sin without knowing that his deed is wrong, then his mistake is forgiven because of his ignorance. The sixth reason of the rusa is because of the disability. People who are incapable of acting are completely free from the burden of the law. That is the mistake that will make them not be punished. People who get rusa from not being able to, for example, small children and also crazy people. And the last reason is because of the common difficulties. Some cases considered general difficulty will also receive a waiver in their implementation. For example, during the rainy season, it's quite difficult to walk in public without being splashed with water that may be mixed with the faces. The number of people and vehicles passing by makes such a difficulties is really difficult to avoid. Next part is about the type of rusa. There's a few types of rusa, which is first, rusa is cut. Rusa in the form to drop the obligation, aborting the obligation to perform Jum'ah prayer, fasting, Hajj Umrah, Jihad, and similar act of worship due to sickness that are known of the public. The second type of rusa is rusa tankis, which is this rusa in the form of reducing the obligation, such as shortening the 4 rakaat prayer while traveling or qasar. This is reducing the act of prayer that the sick is unable to perform, such as reducing the act of bowing, prostration, to arrange the sick that they are able to perform it. Third, rusa ibdal, which is rusa in the form of replace, such as replacing ablution and bath with tayammum when there is no water or when we are sick. Fourth, rusa takdim and takhir. This is the rusa in the form to perform in advance or to delay their worship. Fifth, rusa ittirar, which is the rusa in the form to ease the burden. For example, consuming food and drink that contain unclean ingredients for the purpose of medication. The need to drink this type of food and drink, maybe to get rid something clogged in the throat when in the absence of water and the other halal thing. The last type of rusa is rusa taghyir, which is rusa in the form to change. As example, performing half prayer during war, which the way of performing it need to be changed.
Then, I will continue to the next slide, which is the application of al-Maysur, la yaskutu bil al-Ma'thur. The rule that first al-Maysur la yaskutu bil al-Ma'thur, it is an important method to fiqh that is widely used for detailed fiqh cases, and it is my shar'an accurate solution to many fiqh problems. The word Maysur is a form of masdar that uses sigha isim ma'ful, which we can communicatively translate to something simple. The word ma'thur is also a form of masdar which uses sigha isim ma'ful, which we can translate it to something difficult. So literally, this rule means the easy can be dropped or dropped by the hard. As for the term usul fiqh, the meaning of this rule is as a mandatory command. If it can not be implemented perfectly, then it can only be implemented partially due to weakness or inability, then the obligation is not void and void entirely. The part that can be done remains mandatory, while the part that cannot be done is not mandatory or falls short of the obligation to do so. For example, there are Muslims who cannot perform ablution and cannot perform tayammum because they do not have access to water and land. In this case, it cannot be decided. The obligation of prayer is invalid for him. The fact is, prayer remains obligatory for him. That is, prayer without purification, without ablution, and without tayammum. The reason is an obligation. If it cannot be performed perfectly, then it remains obligatory to perform whichever is able and falls the obligation to perform the difficult. Among other terms for this rule are al-muta'azzir yathbutu i'tibaruhu wa al-mumkin yutashhabu fihi al-taqlib al-maqdu alayhi la yaskutu bil-thubuti al-ma'juz anhu.
So for the next part is the application of al-rukhas la tunat bin al-ma'asi. The definition of al-rukhas la tunat bi al-ma'asi is that rukhsah cannot be used to commit immorality. Rukhsah is the relief given by Allah to the mukallaf in certain circumstances that require relief. In this case, the relief takes several forms, namely relaxation in the form of abrogation of obligations such as being allowed to leave Friday prayers, Hajj, Umrah, and Jihad in the old state. Relief in the form of reducing obligations such as the Qasha prayer of 4 raka'ahs into 2 raka'ahs for the person on the journey. Relief in the form of reimbursement of obligations such as changing ablutions and bathing with tayammum because no water replaces the obligations of standing in the prayer by sitting, lying down, or gesturing in a state of incapacity. The obligation to replace the obligatory fast by feeding the poor for the indigent parents. Exemption in the form of prioritizing the implementation of obligations, such as issuing zakat fitrah since the beginning of Ramadan, despite the obligatory time at the end of Ramadan. Prioritize doing asar prayers at noontime in congregation takdim on the way. Relief in the form of changes in duties, such as the ways of performing prayers in war have changed from the usual form of half prayers. Relaxation in the form of postponement of the implementation of duties, such as performing the noon prayer at the time of Asar in Jamaat Takhir because on the way to postpone the implementation of Ramadan fasting to a later time in the form of Qada due to illness or on the way. The exemption is in the form of legalizing illegal acts and leaving the obligatory due to illness, such as being able to eat pigs or carcasses due to compulsion, but the relief mentioned above does not apply. For a person who intends to commit immorality, for example, for a person who travels for the purpose of stealing, then he is not allowed to use rukhsah or the waiver that Allah has given to the mukallaf, because rukhsah cannot be used to commit immorality.
Next is Iza Qada al-Amru Ittasa. Iza Qada al-Amru Ittasa is something that when it difficult and narrowman, then the law become broad. In other words, when everything is difficult to do, the law of its implementation becomes easy and loose. According to Sheikh Al-Azuddin bin Abdul As-Salam, this method coincides with Islamic law, which is built on the principle of convenience and not fiqh. This is the blessing of Islamic law to bring happiness to his people or mankind as whole in this world and hereafter by providing relief throughout in complicated and burdensome situations. In such circumstances, Islam expands the law for such narrowness to eliminate the existing masyaqqah. Apart from that, this method also comes from the fatwa and opinion of Imam Shafi'i when he was asked some question related to fiqh issue. For example, when there is no water for ablution, then the law becomes broad by requiring a tayammum. And the last one is Iza Itasa al-Amru Qada. Iza Itasa al-Amru Qada is that when a masyaqqah is lost, then the law of its implementation returns to the original state. Among other things, the meaning is that the status of the law is abroad when there is an emergency situation. When the emergency situation disappears, then the law is narrowed back to the original law. Imam Ghazali in his work Ihya Ulum ad-Din has combined the two methods with the expressions, meaning whoever transgresses the limit, then the law is written to the opposite. It is an example of a person not being able to arbitrarily choose tayammum over the ablution in matters of purification, unless there is a reason for rukhsah, such as illness or no water. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So for the conclusion part, as an important mechanism for determining the law in the discipline of fiqh, Qawaid Fiqhiyyah establishes something good and accepted the result of conclusions that are inductive on the laws of fiqh that have been discussed in the issue. Through these general formulas, the fuqaha can conclude new laws that have never been established before. Guided by Qawaid Fiqhiyyah, the preacher can prove that the discipline of Islamic law is able to interact with changes that occur in society as a result of changes in time, location, customs, and atmosphere. The emergence of the rules of fiqh, al-Qa'idah al-Fiqhiyyah, is not without reason. It emerged on the power of thought, ijtihad of scholars who trace the laws and see the problems of life in a society that continues to grow. The rules of jurisprudence are formulated and emerged because there is a foundation from the Nash al-Quran and as-Sunnah, which contains general laws that can cover specific issues. Among the benefits of the emergence of the knowledge of Qawaid Fiqhiyyah is to be able to understand and know the general principles of Masail al-Fiqhiyyah, because the two are interconnected. In addition, it facilitates the determination of the law for the problems encountered by analyzing the problems and then group on one of the available methods. Furthermore, it facilitates scholars other than experts in the field of fiqh to understand the laws of fiqh in more depth. In addition, Qawaid Fiqhiyyah also reveals the secrets and wisdom contained in the teachings of Islamic law that approach the truth, goodness, and beauty. The relationship between Al-Qa'idah al-Fiqhiyyah and Islamic fiqh is very close because Qawaid al-Fiqhiyyah can be used as a reference framework in knowing the law of the deeds of a mukallaf. This is because in carrying out the law of Islamic jurisprudence, sometimes there are difficulties. Life problems will continue to arise. This led to the implementation of more laws. It will continue to grow, making it possible for the emergence of many more rules of fiqh that can later serve as an assistant in determining a law to new problems.